The German army revealed this massive tank during World War II. The Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I was a heavily armored tank with a history of mechanical failures. In 1937, the Nazi German General Staff used a specification for a Durchbruchwagen, a technological breakthrough. But, aside from a few studies, little happened until 1941, when Adolf Hitler became convinced of the threat posed by heavy tanks. Want to know more? Hey guys, welcome to our channel, Alpha Tanks, where we tell you about military tanks, from the most famous World War II battle tanks to the most advanced MBTs at present. So stay with us till the end of this video so you don't miss out on any of this information. And before we proceed, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and click on the bell icon so you never miss out on any of our amazing videos in the future. And let's get started. Hitler authorized the development of a German heavy tank capable of competing on an equal footing with the French Char B. When the Soviet T-34 medium tank and KV-1 appeared on the Eastern Front in 1942, the specification was changed to include an 88mm high-velocity gun as the primary armament. Prototypes were made by Henschel and Porsche. The Porsche design was considered superior and was accepted into service as the Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I, military designation SDKFZ 181, later renamed the Panzerkampfwagen Tiger I. The Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I weighed slightly more than 51 tons at first and was armed with an 88mm gun based on the famous and lethal 88mm anti-aircraft gun, which had also served effectively in an anti-tank role. For its time, the Tiger was heavily armored, with up to 4 inches of steel armor on the hull and turret front. It also had two 7.92mm Model 1934 machine guns, one in the hull and one coaxially with the main gun. The Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I had a 700 horsepower Maybach engine and a top speed of 24 miles per hour. Even with extra wide tracks, the Tiger I's cross-country mobility was poor and mechanical breakdowns were common. It was crewed by 5 people, a commander, a gunner, a loader in the turret, and a driver and radio operator in the hull. The turret and hull could carry up to 92 rounds for the main gun. When it first appeared on the outskirts of Leningrad in 1942, the Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I was the most formidable battle tank in the world. The Tiger I was intended by General Heinz Guderian to be used in tank battalions of 30 attached to Army or Corps headquarters as a stiffener to back up the Panzerkampfwagen III and IV combinations. However, after insufficient planning, Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I tanks were sent into battle in small unsupported units at their Leningrad and Kursk debuts in late 1942 and July 1943 respectively. They were too few and spread too far apart as they launched deeper than ever attacks on Soviet anti-tank defenses. Almost all of these Tigers were annihilated. However, as the Nazi Germany army learned how to best use the Tiger I, its reputation grew to epic proportions. Its thick armor made it virtually impervious to frontal assault, and its high-velocity 88mm gun was ready to pounce on anything that got too close. The Tiger I's main gun could take out a T-34 tank from more than 3 miles away. One Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I destroyed 25 tanks of the British 7th Armored Division Desert Rats in July 1944 before being knocked out from behind. In fact, the only effective way for Allied tanks to deal with the Tiger I was to attack from behind or from the side. With superior mobility, Allied tanks had to maneuver for an attack from behind or from the side if they had any hope. The Tiger I's turret moved slowly, taking 15 seconds to complete a 360-degree turn. If the drive motor failed, it took 750 turns of the hand crank to complete the same turn. The Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I also had a limited range of 62 miles and a slow speed of 24 miles per hour. The Tiger had 8 overlapping road wheels staggered on each side, some toward the inside of the tank, some toward the outside. In the cold Russian winters, snow and ice can accumulate in the treads and wheels and freeze overnight. The Soviets quickly learned to strike early in the morning when the Tiger's tracks were frozen solid. Despite its heavy armor and main gun, the Panzerkampfwagen VI Tiger I was phased out of production in August 1944 after a production run of approximately 1,300 vehicles. Nonetheless, it served on every front from North Africa to the east. So how exactly was this tank developed? A lengthy development history began in 1935. The first mention of a 30-ton Panzer can be found in a note written on October 30th, 1935 by General Lees, head of the Heereswaffenamt. This was determined by estimating the weight of a tank outfitted with a high-velocity 75mm gun, powerful enough to destroy the Char II-C and B-1 French tanks, as well as a minimum of 30mm of armor. In October, the WW2 VI representative in charge of the project met with Dr. Maybach to discuss the feasibility of a 600 to 700 horsepower engine. Maybach rejected a 16-cylinder engine because it was too long to fit in an engine compartment, so only a scaled-up 12-cylinder could be imagined, though it took a tremendous amount of development to achieve the desired output of 600 horsepower. Later discussions revealed that only a 16-cylinder engine could provide the 700 horsepower required for a 30 to 40-ton tank. Given that Maybach was still struggling to produce its first compact 300 horsepower engine in 1936, this remained optimistic. WW2 VI also considered using an aircraft engine, which has high torque and low RPM, but this would necessitate redesigning many components of the drivetrain, which would mean sacrificing other vital aspects in order to stay within the 30-ton limit. Preliminary prototypes ordered by WW2 VI. In January 1937, Vorrat Nebenkamp of WW2 VI, the department that laid out the specifications and contacted the contractors, ordered a chassis from Henschel and the turret from Krupp, which had already been contacted in November 1936 to study a 30-ton tank turret housing a 75mm gun. The first designation was BW for Durchbruchwagen, heavier escort tank, to distinguish this model from the Panzer IV Forerunner, also known as BW. In March 1937, this was changed to IW for Infanteriewagen, then DW for Durchbruchwagen, or breakthrough tank, and finally VK 30.01 Alt Construction in November 1939. According to the delivery plan, Henschel was supposed to provide a DW Fahrgestell prototype with Cleveland track system gear and one with differential drive for trials in the second half of 1938. Henschel renamed them both DW1 and DW2. The DW1 was made of soft steel with plate thickness of 50mm on the front, side, and rear, and 20mm on the rest of the body. It was powered by a Maybach 120TR with a Valorex transmission and a clay track system of 3-stage steering gears, allowing it to reach a top speed of 35 kilometers an hour. Torsion arms suspended 6 double road wheels per side. With a 300mm pitch, the track was center-guided. The DW2 was similar, but with automotive improvements from the steering gear, final drive, parking brakes, torsion bars, and tracks reduced to a 260mm pitch and different drive sprockets. Both weighed 30 metric tons and had top speeds of 35 kilometers an hour. On the Krupp side, on February 22, 1937, a conceptual preliminary design for a turret was sent. In March 1937, Dr. Albright from WW2 VI informed Krupp of several points for the final design, including the 1,500mm turret ring, 50mm thick turret walls, plus a 20mm mantlet, all new ball bearing, and adapted elevating mechanism, but no electric traverse. A prototype had to be created without the use of a wooden mock-up stage. Finally, on June 24, 1938, WW2 VI awarded a contract to Krupp for a trial turret. Modifications were requested in April 1939, and a schedule called for the turret to be completed by May 26, 1939, and then shipped to Magdeburg to be compared to that of a Panzer IV. In September 1938, it was approved the development of a 30-ton tank prototype known as the VK 30.01. In January 1939, WW2 VI discussed this with the specifications that included a 75mm KWK L-24 gun, short barrel, the same crew as the Panzer IV, and 50mm of armor. Henschel designed a new chassis for this purpose, incorporating all the lessons learned from the DWs, and a new Maybach HL-116 engine, a new drivetrain, and most importantly, 7 pairs of interleaved wheels, which were designed to distribute the tank's 32 tons and reduce ground pressure. Hey, that's going to do it for today's video, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel to see even more. You can also check out other videos that have been specially selected for you, and we'll catch up in our next video.